Hey guys, it is Fluffysez here, back at another video for you guys today. Today guys, we're going to be doing a fun video which is actually a collaboration with another channel called Virtual Panda. This video is actually the first part of a two-part series. The first part is going up on my channel and is done by Panda, and the second part is going up on his channel and is done by me. So after you're done watching this, make sure you head over to his channel to watch the second portion. In today's video, Panda is going to be talking about the differences between Pavlov, Onward, and Contractors, and then at the end, I'm going to be giving my opinion about which I think is the best. With that being said, let's just jump straight into today's video.
Hey guys, the Panda here. If you like what you see here, definitely check out my channel, Virtual Panda. I do VR related reviews, tutorials, news, and VR entertainment. I also live stream every Friday on YouTube at 2 p.m. Pacific Central Time. With that out of the way, let's talk about Onward, Pavlov, and Contractors. First, let's talk about the price and the platforms. So Onward is $24.99 on the Oculus Rift store and is also available for the Oculus Quest and on Steam. It is not cross-buy, so if you buy it for the Quest, you'd have to buy it again if you want to play the PC version. It is cross-platform, however, which means that everyone can play together. It doesn't matter if you're on Steam or Oculus. Pavlov is also $24.99, but it is only available on Steam for some reason. The developers are working on a version for the Oculus Quest called Pavlov Shack, but this version is not cross-platform, and it is missing a lot of features. That being said, it is free and available for the Quest through SideQuest, and pretty soon here through App Labs, which is absolutely awesome if you only have a Quest and want a decent first-person shooter. Contractors comes in cheaper than the other two at $19.99. It is available on all platforms, including the Oculus Quest. It is also cross-platform and cross-buy, which means if you buy the Quest version, you can also play the Rift version if you have a decent gaming PC. If your only deciding factor is price, by far Contractors wins because it is cheaper and the only one of these games that supports cross-buy. Now, as far as active players, Pavlov by far has the most active player base with 1,224.7 average players in the last 30 days with a peak of 3,213. This isn't a lot compared to other games, but is absolutely enough to keep you entertained. You will always be able to find a lobby to jump into. Onward comes in at second with over 1,000 players less with only 152.3 average players and a peak of 373. Now this doesn't sound like a lot, but this is only the statistics for Steam, which means the actual number is much higher because of the players on the Oculus platforms. In my experience, I've never had issues finding games during peak hours, and even late at night I was able to find people to play with. In last place, we have Contractors with only 33.3 average players in the last 30 days and a peak of 96. This is incredibly low, but again, these are only Steam numbers, and with the game just releasing on Quest, I'm sure these numbers are much higher than this, but still, I don't think it is anywhere close to the level of Pavlov or Onward. Now, what about the tutorial and learning curve for each game? Onward has an in-depth tutorial complaining everything from how to reload the guns to how to complete the objectives in the basic game modes. Anything you don't learn in the tutorial, such as how to reload more complicated guns, can easily be learned by asking others in the game. That being said, there is a bit of a learning curve to figure out the maps and good strategy. This game requires a lot of strategy, so if you're used to just running in and shooting up people, you might get frustrated as you figure this game out. As for Pavlov, there are some extremely confusing aspects of Pavlov that aren't explained in the tutorial. The tutorial does explain the basics of how to shoot, but Pavlov has a weird gun buying system similar to CSGO that made no sense to a beginner like me, and it really isn't explained in the tutorial beyond how to open up the buying menu. There was also a part of the tutorial that I got stuck on simply because they didn't explain what I was supposed to do. I had to look it up online, and it turns out a lot of people get stuck on that part of the tutorial. Pro tip, during the grenade part, I guess there's a room with a bunch of targets that you're supposed to throw the grenades at. Just throwing the grenades anywhere isn't enough. You have to actually throw it into that room and blow up the targets, which I just didn't see when I was doing the tutorial, and the tutorial also didn't tell me that I had to blow up targets. Contractors has a very basic tutorial showing how to move and use a gun, but other mechanics such as how to complete game objectives are not taught in the tutorial. Most game modes are pretty intuitive, such as Team Deathmatch, but other game modes might confuse new players and need more explaining. With all that, let's talk about the user interface. In Onward, it is extremely easy to find different types of games because you can just join a random match, or you can look at the list of total games available and filter them by game mode and several other attributes. It does show all games, even full lobbies, so oftentimes the first page or two might be full lobbies that you can't join. In an actual game, you can't see your health because you really don't have a health bar in Onward. If you're shot, you're usually dead or weak and need to heal with a syringe. You'll know that you're weak because the color of the screen changes and you can't run. One thing that is fairly annoying is a black vignette that appears when you're getting shot at, and I'm not sure what this is trying to represent, because if you actually get hit by a gunshot, like I said, you either die or are knocked down or you're hurt and need to heal. In game, you can pull out a tablet to look at the map and see where your teammates are. It doesn't show the whole map, but a zoomed in area close to you, which means if your teammates are extremely far away, you'll only be able to see what direction they're in and not their exact location. It also doesn't show the name of the teammates, just a green dot showing where they are. The map also shows you where the objective is if you're playing the uplink game mode. There are no name tags, and so the only way to tell who is on your team is based on which side you're on. There are two possible teams designated by colors, black or tan. The only way to tell who is on your team is by knowing which side you're on and looking at the color of clothing your teammate is wearing. This can be a bit confusing at first, which results in a lot of team killing by noobs, but once you get the hang of it, it really isn't that bad. I do wish there was some way to know who was in a match with me or which teammates were right next to me, but not having a name tag over someone does add to the immersion. One thing about the UI that does annoy me is that you can't change your settings in-game. You can only change them in the home menu. This means that if you're experimenting with settings, you have to join a game or private lobby just to try out the settings and then leave the game or private lobby to go and change the settings. You also can't change your loadout in this home menu. You have to change your loadout in a game lobby, and then you have to wait until the game actually starts to test out your loadout and actually shoot it. All of this makes it a bit more tedious to try out the different settings and guns compared to other games like Contractors. As for Pavlov, in the settings you can choose to start up the game in a variety of locations, including the gun range, where you can easily try out all the different weapons available in the game. You can then open up the menu, change some settings, and then go back and try shooting some guns with the new settings. This makes it fairly easy to get comfortable with the settings and all of the guns available when first starting the game. Finding a game in Pavlov is extremely easy, as you can go through the list of games with lots of options to filter the list. Custom maps and game modes are much more prevalent, and if you join a match with a custom map, it'll automatically start downloading the map for you, requiring no extra setup. Health is displayed on your watch, which is nice, but what isn't nice is that the game has no maps. When you die though, you can zoom around and look at the map to get more familiar with it. Onward has a similar feature, but the one in Pavlov seemed a lot nicer for viewing the game and map while you wait for the match to end. To tell who is on your team, your teammates have name tags above them, which makes it really easy to see who is on your team and who isn't, which is really important because there is friendly fire. When you load up Contractors, you're placed into a small private map where you can move around, shoot your gun, and even play some mini games. There's a shooting range and a button that summons zombies, among other things. This sort of home area where you're in the menu is really nice because you can change your loadout right there and immediately test your guns. This is a lot better than Onward, where you can only create your loadout in lobbies of specific games, and you can't test out your loadout until you're actually in a game. Finding a game is also pretty simple. You just pick a game from the list of available games, but unlike Onward, it looks like they filter out full lobbies. Also, they don't have as many filtering options as Onward, only letting you filter the list by region and privacy. In this game, you have a health bar of 100 that you can see by looking at either of your wrists. This health regenerates over time, so if you just got shot up, you can heal by just hiding in the corner and waiting. As far as the map goes, I could be wrong, but I couldn't find any way to look at the map while in the middle of a match. As for your teammates, just like Pavlov, they have a name tag over them while the enemies do not. This makes it really easy to see who is on your team unless you only see the bottom half of their avatar or if their name tag is hidden behind something. Luckily, there is no friendly fire, so even if you do shoot your teammates, nothing will happen. With all of that out of the way, let's start talking about the different game modes, starting with the single player modes. For Onward, the single player gameplay, you have three basic game modes: Operations, Shooting Range, and Free Roam. Shooting Range is its own map where you can test out the guns and practice your aim, pretty standard for this type of game. And the Free Roam lets you run around any of the maps without any particular objective. This is a great way to familiarize yourself with the available maps before jumping into an online match. Lastly, Operations has two different game modes, Hunt and Evac. In both game modes, you're up against NPC bots, and for the hunt game mode, you can decide how many enemies you want to go against, ranging from 4 to 128 enemies. This goal is simply to survive the wave of enemies, which you can set to varying difficulties. In the evac game mode, on the other hand, you don't necessarily need to kill all the enemies, but instead just survive long enough to get to the helicopter and fly away. This allows you to practice your stealth and can be a ton of fun. Pavlov has 5 offline modes: zombies, hunt, gun game, team deathmatch, and search and destroy. They have bots that you go against, or in the game of team deathmatch you play along with. You can also change the difficulty and even get rid of the bots in some game modes. Outside of these offline modes, you have a few training modes, which consist of the tutorial, shooting range, and kill house, which is a fun mini game with a leaderboard of scores. Contractors has 2 basic single player game modes: their missions and free roams. Free roam lets you explore the maps, while the missions are a variety of games that you can play on all the different maps. The goal of these missions is to achieve higher scores, and I think they're great ways to get familiar with the maps before jumping into online games. Alright, now let's talk about multiplayer modes. In Onward, game modes can be split up into 3 categories: co-op, core, and social. Co-op game modes are the same exact game modes as single player operations game modes, hunt and evac, but this time with teammates. The core game modes are game modes unique to Onward, which consist of uplink, escort, and assault. In uplink and escort, you only have 1 life, but the games end quickly enough that you won't get too bored waiting for the game to end if you die early. In uplink, your objective is to either send a code through a satellite or prevent the other team from sending the code. With the escort game mode, 1 player volunteers as the VIP, and you have to either kill or defend the VIP as they make their way to a specific location on the map. Assault is basically the same thing as uplink, but with respawns available. This is probably my favorite game mode. Social game modes are a variety of changing game modes ranging from gun game to one in the chamber, which you might be familiar with from other first-person shooter games. Onward also categorizes their games into competitive and casual lobbies, which allows you to have the flexibility to play in harder lobbies if you want to try and push yourself. Pavlov has 4 basic game modes: search and destroy, team deathmatch, and gun game, all of which are pretty self-explanatory. Pavlov also has a huge modding community behind it, with a variety of modded maps and game modes. Some popular modded maps include Jailbreak, which is like a cops and robbers style game, and Village TTT, which is like a murder mystery whodunit style game. Contractors has 2 basic online game modes: online match or co-op. The co-op games are the same as the single player missions, but this time with teammates. As far as the online matches, there are a total of 8 different game modes available. Some game modes are pretty self-explanatory, such as team deathmatch, bomb defusal, and gun game. Other game modes are more unique. Domination is a game mode where you have to capture objectives to earn points for your team. In Control, you have to collect data from a data station, and they also have a competitive version of Control. Extraction is where you're attempting to extract one of the objectives and deliver it to the drop point. And lastly, in Kill Confirmed, you have to eliminate the enemies and grab their dog tags to confirm the kill. Definitely, Contractors has a lot more variety of game modes, and I think that can be a ton of fun. That's it for this part of this video. If you want to see the rest of this video, head over to my channel, Virtual Panda, to see Fluffy talk about the different guns and loadouts and other aspects of the game that weren't covered here.
And that is going to end off the informational segment of this video. This next part is just going to be my opinions and thoughts on which game I think is the best, as well as a final wrap-up conclusion. For starters, I find Pavlov to be the most entertaining, with the many custom maps, active player base, infinite ammo, and the ability to change your gun every round with a simple menu. Personally, I find myself choosing to play Pavlov over the others, as it is more chill run and gun compared to the other 2. However, if I am looking for a bit more strategy, I will hop into a game of Contractors, as it has many more game modes that aren't seen in either Onward or Pavlov. I enjoy the feel of Onward, but personally the learning curve is just too steep for me to get into it. If you are naturally very talented in a VR shooter, I would definitely recommend Onward, as I feel with the skill, it would be the most fun to play of the 3. That is going to wrap up today's video. If you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button down below. Thank you to my members, my little lettuces, and my mama bear. You guys help out the channel so much. Huge thanks to Panda for coming up with this collaboration idea. I hope you all enjoyed, but either way, that's it. I'm out.